Hey guys, this is Sean. I'm at the MGTOW Summit Ozarks. Yeah, this is day three. Yeah, it's day three. So I had a quick question for Paul. I know he's, obviously very super social and, going out to places and hanging out with him. I've noticed how easily he can communicate with other people and kind of get under their shield and how they kind of drop their guard and just perk up and start interacting with them. And one of the things I've been learning about and studying is that really the best way to be social and get around people is you kind of have to infiltrate into their friend groups. Like you have to kind of get in there. You can't just kind of just talk to people on the street and then accumulate friends that way. You really have to get connected into networks and nodes and jump from point to point like that. So I was just wondering, what's your advice? What are some of your top tips for getting into those friend groups like just kind of connecting with people like that in a way where they find value in you and they want to talk to you and they want to interact with you. Yeah, that was my question.
The question is, thanks. I think it's the wrong thinking. The thing is, it starts from like people. So it starts from an individual, just one person, not from a group, not from any desire to infiltrate. None of this stuff. I think, at least the mindset I have is that everybody basically wants to be comfortable. Like we want to communicate. Like we want to have friends. We know there's advantages to knowing people. We know that, right? Knowing different kinds of people. But we have defenses and we're fear. Basically like it'd be better if neighbors could just come in each other's houses and you trusted them to walk inside and you knew they weren't going to steal anything. They're just going to, they might get some water or something, go back out. If things were safe and you trusted everybody, it would be better, right? But instead, you got security systems, locks, and everybody's lonely, right? So I think it's everybody really wants to be comfortable, so they're looking for that, right? So I think that for myself, I don't have time to have a security system up for myself. Like I just don't have time for it. I don't have time to waste my life lonely in a high security house. So I can accept the risk of things, right? So I just basically don't have it up myself, right? So people can tell if you come up, you're trying to talk to them, and you're coming from a standpoint of like high security. It's like imagine a high security building coming up to like a teepee or something, right? Like just in a cartoon or something, just moving up. They would be scared of it. Like what the hell is that? They know that you're putting your defenses up, so they're going to start building their defenses up. So I think it starts from just you just knowing that. I think one of my mindsets is I know that everybody wants to change. They want to improve. They want to be able to make friends. They want to communicate. They want to not be afraid to tell a joke. So you have to do it from yourself first, right? Where you're comfortable yourself and you're realizing you can gain from them. I think that's the kind of fundamental thing. And not that you're going to gain like any kind of like, you're not getting badges of honor. It's just that we're social people, right? We are social. Like dogs are social. Reptiles are not. Reptiles in a pet store, they sit alone in a corner. Whereas mammals always in a pile, right? So we're mammals, right? So we are social just by nature. Just look at animals in the pet store and you'll understand yourself better. And so just watch them and then think of how what that means, right? It doesn't mean Kim Kardashian or anything, you know what I mean? It means something else. So just watch the animals and just think people don't want to be locked away in their security thing, but that's what they do. But if you come up with a different mindset, I don't know if that's it, but that definitely helps. I think that's the fundamental, is knowing that people want to talk, they want to change, and when they have somebody who kind of, is there, it's just like, oh, okay, this is safe, okay, and then they open up, right? Because like when I always help people, like they're like very serious cases, I go speak at like jails and drug places and stuff, and I talk to them, and like the very extreme people, and I'm able to help them. It's like you realize that they are just normal guy who just went down this road. They have all these tattoos and whatever to the security system or whatever, but it's just a regular person, right? It's just somebody there, you know. And so when you come up to them and they trust you, then you can just do stuff that other people can't do. Just, it's not about like, you're not trying to infiltrate, you're not trying to change. It's just it's just a furry animal, you know, in a fucking pet store, you know. So just think that way. I think that's a good fundamental belief, understanding, and seeing yourself too, right? How much you got all these bullshit walls up and everything. And that's why people don't have friends, right? It's just ridiculous, you know. It's not beneficial. So I think that's my first thought. Yeah. Anybody wants to next?
Scottie P, I've been a big fan of Ronin Man for a few years, and this is my first summit here in the Ozarks, having a great time hanging out with other like-minded individuals. A quick question for you, Ronin Man, would be the countless videos that I've watched and or listened to over the years, I can relate to just about everything that you've said. One of my favorites ultimately was the Unblackmailable video series. If you wouldn't mind maybe reminding me and or your listeners some of the top keys to being and staying unblackmailable and the advantages of doing so, please.
Oh, thanks. It's super hard to explain. That's why I avoid it, kind of. But who understands unblackmailable here? Yeah, throw some ideas out first, and let me, because you guys have picked it up, so I like to hear. It's like a reflection, and then it'll help me to understand too. Because I just see the world as basically we live these shitty lives because we're so blackmailable. So, you know, it's like it's not like any specific thing. A lot of it is avoiding the things that everybody's doing, and then once it's like a pair of glasses. Once you get the glasses, you'll see. It'll be so fucking obvious that you're a blackmailable in this area and that area and not in this area. So let's start to get some ideas so we can start to get the basic understanding vision of it.
So, like, there's things in your life that you can avoid.
I'm just checking if it's going on.
Okay. And these are things that will blackmail you, whether they're people or whether they're items or items that kind of have responsibilities. So, like, an apartment lease that just ties you to a location for a year or two, getting in a long-term committed relationship, something like a marriage, things that have legal implications, being a partner in a company, just things that like are an unnecessary anchor that like hold you in place, that keep you from being mobile or fluid, like things that hold you back, keeping you more static than you would want to be.
Okay, this is great because it gets me the chance to go, okay, so the thing is, people would hear that and they would say, well, that idea is simple, right? Don't get married, whatever, don't sign a contract. The thing is that the unblackmailable concept is that you are not a lonely Unabomber. Okay, that's not the goal. The goal is not Unabomber, right? That's not the goal. And so you think, well, okay, all of those things you mentioned, like marriage, contracts, businesses, the reason why people get in those contracts is for reasons, right? There's good reasons. There's benefits to why people get into those relationships. It's not like having a business with somebody is bad or having a relationship with somebody is bad, or there's like very good reasons why people get into these. It's just that they get into them in the wrong way. So it's like a shitty cell phone contract. You want cell phone, but then you sign up for some totally miserable, like overcharging, retarded system, right? You want to get the service, but you want it the smartest way possible. So I think that's the thing is when you're looking at it, you're looking at these antiquated ways of getting the love, the affection, whatever it is that you want from those things, right? It's not an avoiding thing. It's not a Unabomber. It's not. It's like, okay, I like all those things you just talked about. You know, they're all good parts of those, right? But it's like, how do you get those things? There's always another way. You know, like one just super simple, but like whenever I come back to the States, I know that most Americans are and this is in every country. Okay, the citizens of every country just kind of, what do you call it? Like they just do what they're told. They just do whatever it is. They're in the system. They just kind of believe everything. Oh, we should wear shoes. Yeah, we should live in a house. You know, you should have electricity. You know, you should wear clothes when you go out. You know, all these things we just do naturally. You sit in chairs. You know, we have all these things we just do without thinking about it, without questioning it. And then when somebody else comes in, they question everything. Why should I do this? This is a big commitment, right? So when I go to, let's say, L.A., okay, I know that if I ask Americans, what do I need to do? Where should I live? They're going to give me bad advice. Because they never have looked at it from the outside. They never had to break into America, right? Whereas when you talk to the Nigerians or you talk to let's say the Eastern Europeans, like in the old days, I would get to LA and I'd go straight to like the Chinese network or the Indians, like say the Little India, and I'd say, you guys have any phone cards? And they always had. They were so crazy because my dad would be paying like $1 gazillion to make a phone call, and I'd go down to Little India, start asking around, and then he would say, "Oh, buy this phone card." Then I would be using that phone card, and it was like fucking like 150 at the price of the other ones. And then some other guy would say, "Oh, there's a way cheaper one. Go over to the Chinese area. There's another one's called this, you know." And I'd go and get that phone card, and I realized that under the inside of the society, you have people paying like 100 times more for the same thing. And so a lot of it is just like there's always an app that does whatever your expensive machine does for free. You know, there's something like there's usually like a time lapse app that's free instead of like this expensive time lapse thing. So it's a matter of just always searching for a way. You're always looking for smarter people who are thinking this way. So they're always like thinking like, oh, I want to make phone calls. Now they're all free. But it's a great example because it really was this way. You go down the immigrant area, there was always a better way to do everything. And they always had a cheaper way, a smarter way with less commitment. Because the phone cards, you didn't need a contract. You bought a phone card for $10 and then you used it up. So it was like, not only was it cheaper, but there was no commitment. You didn't have, there was no recurring charges. And you had control of it. So if you went out of the States for a while, you just wouldn't buy a phone card, you know. Then you buy another phone card when you need it, right? So I think that it's finding it's like for me, I always get into an area and I'll always look at the immigrants first. How are they doing things? How many people do they have in their house? Where do they live? You know, how are they using the house inside? Because Americans will have like Rev's got this big huge house, one person, right, and paying all the bills, right. The Chinese would always have the Chinese immigrants are always going to have a better way to use this space. You know, whether it's going to be as a like maybe they'll have a friend who has a food company and the garage will all be storage, they'll be renting out, or you know they're going to have something, they're going to have a way to maximize this space, you know, because they don't have the money. So it starts from immigrants with new ways of looking at things. And also the necessity is a mother of invention too. A lot of factors. So Unblackmailable is, there's many aspects of it, many. But one of them is always looking for better solutions. And I tell you, man, it is fucking hard on your ego to look for better solutions. I swear to God. You get attached to them. Like my friend Adam, that's one of the reasons why I hang out with Adam, is that guy is like the master of like looking at things and throwing away things. Like you just say to him, you just say, you're going to do something, and it's like embarrassing to tell him because he's like, oh, just use this app. And you're like, no, but I just spent all this time thinking about this complicated way that I can do it, that everybody else does it. He's like, well, I think there's an app that does that, but, you know, if you want to be an idiot, go ahead, you know, kind of thing, you know. He's like, I'm going to go to the food court, you know. And I'm just like, damn it, you know. And then, then you're okay, what's this app? And he's like, I don't know the name, I saw it somewhere, you know. And you look around, there it is, you put the app in. And so it's an ego hit, too, to make these changes. You know, it's just one thing at a time. But it's always knowing that there's value in these things that people do, right? There's value in owning a car. There's value in moving your body from one place to the other. But so it's not like, I think, and the other concepts are all about taking away or doing it better. Like this is like doing it all new every time. You're always looking for a new, and you can't do it all by yourself. So you need outside people. You need it's like once you get your life really unblackable, it's like 1,000 things in your life that will just be easier. Just like my ability to come from Thailand to here. when I suddenly had a need to come to America, I was able to just, no problem, like leave my place in Bangkok and come here. That's very difficult. If you had to move, like if you had to move suddenly to Thailand tomorrow, you'd have a lot of stuff to sell, moving vans, contracts. Like I didn't have any of that. I just packed up my suitcase.
Storage unit.
Yeah, storage unit, like, costs that will continue to occur, and also like decisions. Like, I'm not saying it was very nice, I'll tell you that. So the ability to move countries without any problem is like, but I still have a good life. Like I always have clothes to go out in. I always have transportation. I always eat good food. I always stay in shape. So it's like, how do you get all those things? I always have friends. I always have affection. I always have a way. I always have the things that you do, but there's a better way to do it. There's always a better way to do everything. So it's about constantly like thinking about throwing away those old, what is it that you want? And then also other people that do this for a long time, it becomes, you don't have to reinvent the wheel too, because like for example, I can just look at someone's life pretty easy and start like knocking things out, because there's always a lot of things that people are doing that are just they're not specific to one person. Like once you show them a better way to do something, they're just going to do it, right? They're just going to, instead of buying in bulk, you might buy, if you're single, buy from the dollar store. That's why I like the dollar store, because for a single guy, the dollar store is great, because you never have big packages of anything. It's just like as you need it, So, that kind of stuff. That just everything adds up, right? You end up with a house full of stuff because you buy in bulk, because it's like, and then you need a bigger house, and then it's all connected, right? So it sounds like minimalist, it sounds simple, but I tell you, it is fucking magic when it's all done. You just don't have any stress because you don't have any recurring bills. Everything you want is the smartest, fastest, easiest, best way to get it. You're not worried about change because it would only benefit you, pretty much. The more you do this, the less you'll be afraid of change, and you get better at it too. Like I get better at taking the fact that some kid's going to have an app that's like way better way to do my whole life, and I just like, okay, yeah, sure, Whereas in the beginning, it's kind of hard, right? It's like, it's difficult to make these changes, right? In the beginning, but it gets easier. It gets easier, and you start seeing the benefit. And so, I think whether it's food, affection, like just think of all the things you need. Okay, everything you need, and you're getting it easier with less commitment, in a better way, in the smartest way. Like you're just always in that mindset. Like for whatever the fuck it is. And with smarter friends who are able to do that. So everybody, kind of your friends are all doing it too, and whether, that's why I like online education rather than going to a school, because online education is actually better now. Like good online. A lot of guys said, well, online education, my school sucks. It does suck because the teachers that do offline education can't do online education. Nobody that's a teacher is going to go start programming a Google. A history teacher, it's a totally different business. So an online teacher is it's some kid who's using all the apps. He understands how to better way to test, better way to know if you're cheating, better, like instead of just words, pictures, so you can recognize things quicker. Language like Rosetta Stone, where you get 4 pictures, that was different than teaching. So have you ever studied Rosetta Stone, you guys? It's for vocabulary, and it's a great way to study because it'll say a word in whatever language you're studying, and then there'll be 4 pictures, and then you'll pick one, and then it'll be right or wrong, and then it'll go to the next one, and it'll say X or check, and then you click and you click and you click and you click, and it's a way better way for your brain to learn vocabulary than any other pretty much way that I know. So it's not good for getting sentences, it's not good for writing, but it's very good for vocabulary. That's what I use it for. So like I'll use that for that, and I'll use Pimsleur for sentences, just endless droning repeat while I'm sleeping. Like, so it's like getting these tools, like learning languages in schools is fucking retarded, you guys. Like nobody gets fluent in schools, pretty much. It's like, it doesn't even work. Yeah, like just look how many people that they speak French fluently in America?
Like 0.
Yeah, but a lot of people study French here. How many people studied German? I studied German. I can't speak German. How many people studied Spanish? How many studied French? But you're not good at it. It's because you accepted mediocrity shit. And then you end up having a shit life. And you're like, why do I have a shit life? It's like you're making shit decisions with shit technology, shit friends, and you're not improving yourself. So it gets worse as you get older. So that's why Unblackmailable was so important. Like it's just like, it just sounds dumb, but it's like you're just always doing things the better way. And you're thinking clearer too. You know what I mean? Because like if you have a friend like me, you'll be like, oh, I'm studying French. And I'll just tear your new asshole because you don't speak French and you're not getting it. Nobody else in your class speaks French and nobody that ever studied from that teacher ever spoke French. And so there's just a dead end at the end of that road. And you're like, damn it, But there's another way you can do it, right? So I think it's Unblackmailable is a concept to make your life richer, quicker, faster, better. And I mean including health. Health is a big part of Unblackmailable. Because taking diabetes pills, like how many people take diabetes pills, right? You're fucked. It's over, You're like attached to a fucking like a life system there. You can't handle the disintegration of society. You will die right away. You're fucking. I mean, if you don't know how ridiculous you look, you're a fucking stuffed clown, in the middle of the desert. And people just fucking Jack in the Box, Fuck that. Fuck that. That is blackmailable at the core. You're like a fucking blender plugged into the wall. As soon as the electricity goes out, you're dead. As soon as you need to move, you're dead. You can't run any. Like that's the kind of thing that's just like, that's like one of the core things. Like you have to get rid of that. You have to get rid of that fat ASAP. Otherwise, you're going to be plugged in like a blender all the time. Don't be that. You're at the mercy of electricity grid. So that would be a big Unblackmailable there. So I would say like whatever it takes. There's no question. It's got to get done. Doesn't matter. It's got to be done. You can't be plugged. You can't be a blender, right? So things like that, like you're looking at it from another perspective. Everybody else will say, "Oh, it's fine to be plugged into the wall. The electricity grid works 99.9% of the time." Well, what about war? What about this? What about what's that called? EMP. What about an EMP? You will be dead in 24 hours or whatever. Depending on what you have. So like the EMPs are going to happen. All you got to do is like a nuclear bomb up in the atmosphere, and there won't be any electricity suddenly, right? So it's like thinking about all these things, but the thing is, it's so different than fear. It's so different than the Unabomber because you are doing something that's going to make your life a million times better. It's not just unplugging yourself, right? That's just the start, right? Now you feel better. Your intelligence goes up. Your ability to be a good friend goes up because you don't feel like crap all the time. You're not hiding all the time, right? Your ability to think and study, and and all those other things that you take to give yourself energy, whatever they are, you don't need those because you feel pretty damn good. You only take those things because you feel like shit, right? Handful of pills, that's a blender. You don't want to. My dad, handful of pills. If you're taking a handful of pills, you're like a blender plugged into the wall. Don't do that. Find a way to get rid of most of those, as many as possible. I know that there are things that you have to take, but I tell you, man, from anybody who's like healthy, you'll realize there's very few. There's very fucking few. No matter what lies you tell yourself, how all your friends are doing this shit. There's some kid in fucking India who has taken nothing. Some old guy, and he's fine, right? So it's, of course, if you have a debilitating disease, a genetic disease, or if you let yourself go so far that you can't fix it, that's fine. I'm not saying that it's just a matter of saying, okay, here's what I have. Here's the cards. Let's get them out. Clean out the fucking garage. What's in there left? Everything should be thrown away that's garbage, right? And just start resetting. As take inventory, throw out stuff, and start rethinking everything. So what it is for me is I can look at someone's life, and Unblackmailable, I consult them, right? So I can look at their life and I can say, I can just watch them for a while. And then it'll start to be obvious to me some possible ideas and how to implement them. So that's kind of like what I look at what they're doing, all the things holding them back, and then all the things they want to get, and all the things they're not doing. Because the things they're not doing are the most biggest changes that you don't know about. Like the app that does things that I'm going to save up until I can afford a time lapse, but I never have been able to do it. And there's like a free app that does it right now. You could be doing fucking time lapse for free right now. Whatever it takes to download an app, right? So like there's a lot of solutions like that your idiotic friends just don't know. You know what I mean? Like they just don't know. But there's another guy who just gets it done and he's walking around happy and free, So it's like we live in this world that's so crazy that people that are doing things so smart and people that are doing so stupid. So we're in this transition phase, I think, into the next age of technology or the next age of intelligence or living, right? So it's a matter of just one at a time, just seeing those things, getting rid of the negatives, seeing the positives, and also making the reason why you don't want to make commitments, it's not because you're afraid of commitments. I think that once you clear, like once you get rid of all the dumb commitments, like my cell phone, I pay cash. So during the pandemic, a lot of the stores were closed, so it's hard to pay. Because I don't want to give them my credit card because I know I'm too lazy that they're going to keep charging me when I go somewhere else. And, and it's $40 a month. I'm just going to let them keep charging me. I had a $50 a month charge that went on for like 10 years. I just didn't even, I was just like, it was $49 every month. I'm like, I got to cancel that thing. But if I cancel it, I have to download all that database I got in there. And I don't know, maybe I'll use it in the future, Finally, I just cancel it, So like, anyway, I hope that gives you an idea of it. It's about everything. Yeah. Anybody else have any? Just keep asking questions. Go on Unblackmailable. Fucking just ask somebody else, whatever.
I can think my favorite story about Unblackmailable is your story about the smoker's door. I love that story. You got the nice fancy infrastructure, the nice fancy building. You got the guy with the door wedged open in the alley, and you could just bypass everything, bum a cigarette, you're in, whatever. But you think about that, and you think about like really do the deep dive stuff, and think about like your own issues, and what are you responsible for? You got to take responsibility for that stuff. And so it does help when your friends can kind of point out things that you're doing, but you got to accept that. It can be hard to accept those liabilities that you have, psychological or habits you have. Yeah, that's all I have on that. Anybody else?
Yeah, this isn't so much of a question as much as more of a comment, though, because that minimalism thing just has always been something that I've...
Don't use the word minimalism, because it's not minimalism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but as far as...
Yeah.
But, like, and stop me if I'm getting off track, obviously, but I've just been... definitely over the last few years, I've moved twice, and it fucking sucks moving. and I've definitely scaled down on the amount of shit that I own, and... It's, I'd like to, and I am in the process of getting rid of more stuff. It's just I want to go through it and make sure it's something that I want to get, physical stuff that I want to get rid of, before I get rid of it. But, but yeah, I guess for me with, there's like an acceptable level of shit that I'll get rid of, But and you're right though. You're 100% right. If I was to just have to move to another country, it would be just if I had to, it'd be a painful fucking experience, to getting rid of the contracts and all that type of shit. But I could do it. But yeah, I'm trying to scale down and scale back on my connectedness to the system.
Right. Okay, that made me think of some few ideas. Like, so one of the problems too is like, if you just think about like focus on the one thing I said about the stuff and the contracts, it won't give you the solution you need, because you do need stuff. And by the way, this is a cool house. Like, it's the right size for a single guy. I love the style, the shape of it. It's like they got the table there for the kitchen. You can see people here. It's like this is a very practical house. Like for houses, this is great size. Like really, that's the first thing I noticed when I came in. I'm like, this is a fucking great little house. Like it's a just perfect size. It's got the high roof. I like, so it is a good house. It is. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like, you might find that the changes you need to make are going to be, okay, like when you let's say when the third world, right? When they modernize, right? When China, when they take like, they go from like people shitting in like bedpans and putting them out every night into this big garbage can, and like no basic running water, and like no gas lines. Everyone's just burning coal, and people are using. This is what when I first got to China, it was all like this. Then when they modernized the place, of course they didn't fix those houses up. They just tore them all up because there was nothing to save. There was just rats everywhere, and it was leaking, and nothing was good. So it was just a matter of just tearing the whole thing up. And that's why they modernized so quickly, is because there was nothing to save from the communist era. There was nothing there. So everybody was totally cool with tearing the whole place up. That's why the Chinese they'll move easily, because they let the government buy their house out to get another house. The government will give them money for another house, right? Anyway, they have a system to kind of modernize a whole city, right? Now, of course, this can be abused. The reason you hear about the protests in China, that's when there's corruption. So a local official will start taking money out of the system. But anyway, so back to the idea. The concept is this. When you want to change your life, okay, if you just think about this house, you got the same job, you got the same, everything's the same. You can only change this house so much. So when in this case, your change might be a completely different lifestyle after leaving the army. You might like don't just look at this house and how can I have less stuff, because that's really not much benefit. You got a good job in the army, you get a salary, you live near here, you drive to work 7 minutes, it's great. This place is good. So there's a limit. You don't want to just sit here. It's not about just, it's all about, it's about monumental changes that change everything. Like one little thing, just gone. So think about, like I would say, this house, pretty damn good for the size. Pretty damn close, pretty damn efficient. You're renting it, you can move. It's fine. It's great. But the next thing is when you do move, when you change your life, you might go to being an online teacher or something, where you're just all of a sudden you don't need all this furniture and TV and fans and all this bullshit, and you can do all kinds of things. You can rent rooms all over the world or whatever. So don't just keep everything the same and try to change one thing. Sometimes you have to look at other people, look at Joel, look at other different people, and look at around your world, and eventually you'll start to say, well, wait a second, like I want a whole new life, like a whole new way of doing everything, and just look for people to have that model. Right. There's people, I know a lot of people that are teaching Chinese kids English online, and they live in Bali, and they make like $20-25 an hour into their PayPal account, and the Chinese government doesn't take tax out of it. Things like that. Like that's pretty cool. I have a lot of friends doing that. And that's pretty damn cool, because $20 an hour in a third world country is a lot of fucking money. It's a lot of bread, because you make over $100 a day, and that's shit ton of money in Bali. And you can surf every day, so I think when you think about this, don't get too focused on one thing, because that's what everybody else does. Just think, okay, what other lifestyles are people doing that I have my skills? Like, you're thinking about it from this is the hard part. This is why I consult people, because it's like the hard part is getting that, what other models are out there that I could see, that will give me ideas for whole new ways I could live my life and be happier, right? With lower costs and more freedom, and also doing new things, using better tools that have a better future, So like, yeah, it's don't get too focused on the house, or like, that's why it's not minimalism at all. It's minimalism is just like that Marie Kondo, her book. The people were just like spending all their time and energy focused on their house. That's a total waste of fucking time. A total waste of time. It's like, how can I get rid of one more thing so the house looks cleaner? Like, instead of like living in Bali, boning a bunch of chicks, surfing every day, and saving tons of money every month, like in the sunshine, instead of living in Chicago, driving to work in the snow, right? So it's like, yeah, that's the way to think about it. So it's definitely not minimals. That's why I tried to interrupt him. Like, no, that word, because there's so many words that when I start talking, people say, oh, it's that. And they stop listening. And it's that. This is a new concept, you guys. This is no one else's. This is a brand new, it's a completely different thing that I figured out. Just part of it was just hanging out with Adam too. He was so good at it. But he doesn't know it, he can't verbalize. He just, and also he has limitations. Like he taught me a lot. So it's a matter of meeting really smart people that they teach you stuff, they show you stuff, and then you can, and also I can give back. Like I've been able to give back ideas to him because now I see his stuff and I'm able to do this because he's I met him when he was 21. So I was hanging out with this 21-year-old kid when I was like, what was I then? Geez, it was only like 12 years ago or something like that. So I was like 40, mid 40s, basically hanging out with this kid who's 21. And like everything all of his ideas were better and smarter, like basically, so it was, like really, it was kind of hard to accept.
Hanging out with the newer model.
Right. But this kid is like, he's like incredibly smart. He's not a newer model. He's like, this is like newer and better, like this is a very, very smart person. Right. And just right in the groove of like the right kind of smart for that benefits, so I was like, hanging out with him, and then I was able to see like all kinds of the way he thought about things, and does things, and it was just so many things that I learned from other people, and then I put it into this concept, just it's like amazing, like just totally unrelated, but just something I learned from Adam was I would sit there and I'd try to fix my computer because back in the old days, you're always updating your Windows and you're always having viruses and stuff. Now those days are pretty much gone now. Yeah, but that I would always be doing it, and I would always be angry at my computer. Like I would just be like frustrated with it. And he was, and like it took me a long time to realize that I was like a blender, like a total ridiculous fucking jack in the box. I'm all angry at this fucking piece of machinery, and he isn't. And you just realize how stupid you look. That's part of it, motivation to change, realizing how stupid you are. When you realize how stupid you look, and you do look stupid, you will fucking change easier because you'll be like, everybody fucking knows. They just don't say anything. That's the fucking bad part. And it's like you accept that people will just downgrade you in their mind. You know what I mean? You don't want that. Face it yourself. Face the dumb things you do yourself. Just face them straight up because everybody else does. They just don't tell you. Okay, but the thing is with Adam is like, he would never be angry at his computer. And so I thought he was a genius with computers, fixing computers, And so then I would hand him my computer or whatever I wanted to do. And, we were doing tough stuff. Like I had an online business. We were doing I had sales funnel. We had it was a lot of complicated tools we were using. And it wasn't something super simple. But I would get frustrated with something and I would hand it to him. And then I would let him do it. I would go out and get some food or whatever. But there was one day when I thought, you know what? I'm just going to watch him. Because I started to have the feeling that I was seeing things wrong, So I sat there, I watched him while he was doing it, and he went, and I didn't interrupt him. I just let him do. He did every single thing that I had done, like the way I was trying to fix it. He did the same thing. He just went, tried something. He's like pressing the buttons, looking at it, no emotion on his face, and it doesn't work. So he tries something else, and then no emotion. Then he tries something else, and no emotion. Then he Googles something a little bit, and he tries something else, and he just he's like, oh, okay, and solved it. And it was like basically, I had all the tools to do what he was doing. I always thought he had some magic. I thought he had some kind of knowledge from being from school or something, because I knew he used to be a tech engineer, and I thought he had some kind of. But he actually, in this particular instance. Not always, but in this instant, he was just basically doing everything that I knew how to do. But he wasn't angry at the machine. And it was like I realized that old people are just always angry at machines. And it's just like a total waste of time. Young people are not angry at machines. They're just like, oh, I'll press this button, And I realized how dumb we look, and I was like, God damn it, this is fucking ridiculous. I got to take on whatever this is that he's doing here. Because I'm like a fool hanging out with fools. Fuck this. Yeah, I'm going to somehow start doing the way Adam does it. He just doesn't. He just tries one thing and tries one other, and he Googles around. And if he doesn't finish it, he goes to lunch. He comes back and Googles it again, And it's like, I don't know. I can't remember the lesson I learned from that. But I learned a lot from just seeing that it wasn't necessary. That was the main thing. Well, I knew it wasn't beneficial. Definitely wasn't good for my health. Because I would get fucking angry in my mind. I mean, I wasn't like I was bothering anybody. Now I was just, super frustrated, like ruining my own day, So it's like all the solutions that you whether it's losing weight, getting in shape, fixing your computer, getting a new way to transport your body A to B, it's not that hard. It's like a lot of it is just, there's this kind of thing where you're just literally like a pressure cooker getting nowhere, plugged into the fucking blender thing, plugged into the wall. Like, you're not getting anywhere with that, so it's a matter of just, realizing everything, all the ideas I said. But man, I was fucking funny. I tell you, watching him do the same things I did, I could not believe it. I just sat there just silently going, how does he do that? How does he not be angry? Like, that's what I did. I was going to tell him, no, I did this and this and this. Because I was like a pride thing. Because I was like, like when you call tech support, they always tell you, did you restart the computer? And then I would be real angry. Because I thought, man, I'm smart, man. Don't tell me that. Of course I restarted it. Wait, did I? No, but usually I had. When I call tech support, I've usually done everything. So it's not always true. It's not always true. But, a lot of times it is true, right? So anyway, let's go on the next one here. I probably went on too long. Oh, shit. Oh,